Well, on his first full day in office, President Joe Biden laid out his plans to ramp up vaccination all across the country, and they involve mass vaccination sites run by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Of course, I'm talking about FEMA. And former FEMA coordinator Mark Nouveau got a closer look at how FEMA plans to set up those sites. And Mark joins us live this afternoon. Always a pleasure to have you on the show, Mark. So tell us more about these sites. Who all is going to be involved in setting them up?
Good Friday to you, Heather. Yeah, it's a partnership, and the president has designated FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, to be the lead coordinator. Not unusual. We do that in disasters across the country and historically. But what's taking place, it's a partnership with Health and Human Services, CDC, National Institutes of Health, Army Corps of Engineers, and particularly the Department of Defense, being able to bring about 10 to 20, 30,000 of those nurses and doctors to come help out. They're working out the agreement between DOD, Department of Defense, and FEMA right now with the hopes of eventually being able to do 450,000 vaccinations a day across 100 community sites.
Well, that is indeed a very ambitious goal. But Mark, how long do you think it's going to take until they're able to meet that goal? Are we talking days, weeks, or months from now?
Well, the goal the president had asked for is to have 100 sites up within 30 days. I don't think they'll reach that, but if the president asks for it, they're going to do everything they can to get there. This is going to be one of those programs that you're going to have to crawl a little bit. Then as you get going, you're going to keep moving faster and faster and faster. The president has also said that states have 100% funding for vaccinations, so it eliminates the cost factor and the roadblock, and it also allows reimbursement of National Guard. And there are about 25,000 National Guard members in 216 sites across the nation administering 51,000 vaccines right now. That doesn't talk about those that are also being administered by health plans. So it's an ambitious plan, but achievable.
Right. And so when we look at those 100 sites, can you give us some idea of where those sites might be set up? I mean, where are we talking about across the country?
Well, what we're talking about is large venues. You might see something like San Francisco Giants Stadium, large areas, maybe AT&T down Levi Stadium, an area that has a large parking lot. And that's what the Army Corps of Engineers does so well, is locate sites. They've got a list of that. They're negotiating with different property owners. So as that each department has a role here to play. And it's much like you're seeing already in some of the states, in California in particular, where you're seeing people almost like a drive-through. This is a drive-through vaccination site is what they're talking about.
Right. When I think, though, about those type of facilities, Mark, they seem to be in bigger cities. But there is a concern about how you get rural Americans vaccinated. Does this plan account for people who live in kind of outlying areas across the country?
Not only for outlying areas, but it's also for areas in the communities of color where the outbreak has been so devastating. The essential workers, the food workers, things of that nature. They want to be able to get into those. Now, they may be smaller. There's a large, if you will, site and a smaller site. One site can do 6,000 shots a day. The other one can do 5,000 or 3,000. So they've got what they call a tier 1, tier 2 site to be able to accommodate exactly what you're talking about if they don't have enough space.
Okay, and Mark, before I let you go, obviously you have responded to a number of disasters. You know how difficult it is to kind of set up the infrastructure and get the help where it's most needed. What do you see as being the biggest challenge here?
The biggest challenge is the logistics component to this. Once you've got the personnel, you've got to have the supply. And what we're hearing across the country is we're ready to administer more vaccinations. We just don't have the supply. So that's why you saw the president commit to purchasing 200 million doses. What that does is it tells, number one, the manufacturers that you've got an order sitting there. So financially, you can invest whatever you need. The Defense Production Act, because it's enacted, will also allow to prioritize those necessary things: needles, vials, protective clothing for people doing the administration. So there's a concerted effort not only to buy the supplies, get what's necessary, but also to create coordination with the states. And that's going to be key because they're already doing some work. But FEMA, the federal government, has to tailor in with what's taking place and augment that.
Yeah, and really bring in all those resources with one common goal. Well, Mark Naveau, really appreciate it. Thanks again for coming on, and have a good weekend.
You too, Heather. Thank you.